Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Spiritual Journey podcast. We're on episode 145. That's crazy to me. I feel so blessed with this podcast. Always love by starting just by saying thank you. Thank you to everyone that's listened to this podcast, supported it, sending me DMs on a regular basis and giving me feedback. I love it. So thank you. My name is Nimesh. I'm the host of this podcast. I'm an Akashic record reader, Akashic trainer, podcast host, podcast creator, as well as a spiritual coach and mentor. And I just love guiding people to shine the light. I really do feel like we've been pushed in a different sort of way this year. And I love guiding people to truly be their authentic self, release the programming, and shine the light. And I'm excited to have an amazing guest on today who I've been um, speaking to for a while. We've been talking about her being a guest for a while, so I'm excited to have her on. I've seen so much amazing work she's been doing, and I'm excited to have Chintal on this podcast. So, Chintal, I'd love for you to introduce yourself and tell our listeners a little bit about what you do.
Thank you so much, Nimesh. Yes, we've been speaking for a while, so um, it's a real honor and pleasure to be here on this beautiful podcast. So my name's Chintal Kakaya. I am a intuitive energy healer, a spiritual life coach, occupational therapist, priestess, and so many more titles we can add to this beautiful journey that we're on as teachers and guides for so many others. And I'm really passionate about healing. I'm really passionate to empower individuals to heal. And when I talk about healing, we're talking about energetic, spiritual healing. And the purpose of this is to help transform the fears, the overwhelm, the burnout, the anxiety. It's transforming these individuals who are experiencing this into feeling empowered, bringing them into that space of leading with vitality, leading with confidence. And it's through connecting them with their higher selves, their higher authentic selves. It's peeling back the layers of all the beliefs, the traumas, the healing the unhealed traumas, the programs. And every individual has this inner power that's within them. They have so many sacred gifts that are within them. And my mission is really to empower individuals to heal so that they are stepping from that constant pain and suffering into love, compassion, community. We want to leave this whole world, this planet, this our future generation in a healthier way than it is right now. We want to lead the future generation to live in a beautiful planet where everyone's seen as one. There's a lot of hurt people, there's a lot of wounded people, and there's constant hurt and wound. Actually, we're beings of love, and it's reminding the essence of who we truly are. So
I,
that's what really my mission is.
I love it. I love it. So well said. I love it. That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so today we're going to be talking about embracing your spiritual journey. And we were talking before we started recording, and it's really interesting about so many people are going through so much, and you talked about it in your intro, and it's embracing your spiritual journey is knowing that, for me, it's knowing that you're a soul having a human experience, so everything you're going through is part of your journey. And you know knowing that the work that you've got to do is internal, because so many people go on courses and do things, and ultimately they want to be fixed. And for me, embracing your spiritual journey is becoming a student and knowing that everything that's happening to you is an opportunity for you to expand, grow, and learn. I make it sound easy, right? Because some of the work we've got to do is tough. And I do believe that in this generation, we've incarnated to really heal at a deep level. We've chosen to heal our personal karma, but also a lot of ancestral karma, which is
Yeah.
why we're feeling things at such a deep level. But embracing your spiritual journey is really about knowing that everything is happening to you is serving you in some kind of way. And really kind of, for all listeners, if you go back to your deepest, darkest moments and really ask yourself, well, what did you learn in those moments? How did you expand in those moments? I'm sure you'll find that you learned something in that time. You expanded in some kind of way. And it's that I love the phrase, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional, because on this journey we are going through intense things. Let's be honest, right? This is what we were
Mm.
talking about before. It's an intense time. A lot of people are going through things, but it's exactly planned. And embracing your spiritual journey is really knowing that everything that's happening to you is happening to you for a reason. And what if you're going through things um, so you can release so much karma, but then what if you're going through it so you can also guide others? And
Yeah.
that's for me is, if I was to, in a nutshell, is just becoming a student, because you can't always control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond to what happens to you. So what if you choose to respond with curiosity,
Mm.
with excitement, with, hold on, what does this mean to me? What am I releasing? And we talked about it before. It's like the healing is deep work, right? It's there's no you know quick fix. You have to do the work. It's just and the work can involve. We talked about inner child, things like dark night of the soul, ancestral healing, personal healing. What your past lives and what you bring into it. But it becomes really interesting and exciting if you become open to it. It's easy to become really kind of engrossed in the pain of what we're going through. And I get it, when if we're going through, and then for listeners, if you're going through something intense, it's hard for you to see the good in it, right? Because you're in it.
Mm.
But this is why, if you could just take a step back and ask, well, hold on, what am I learning from this? Why did my soul choose this expansive experience? Maybe you start to get it. If you change your question, you start to get a different answer. So, Chintal, if I said to you, embracing your spiritual journey, what does that mean to you? What would you say?
I would say very much similar to what you've already expressed, that rather than seeing this as why is this happening to me, shift that perspective to what am I learning from this? Why is this happening for me? From to me to when we change it to for me, you start to shift how you respond to those situations, because you can either sit in that pain, or the victim mode is what we call it in the terminology. Look what's happening. Look at all the bad stuff that's happening. But what if you shift it to taking radical responsibility for your own self? Instead of getting yourself into the victim mentality, step into the responsible mentality of, okay, I acknowledge this situation feels uncomfortable. I acknowledge I feel hurt. I acknowledge I feel sadness. I acknowledge I feel anger. But what am I learning from this? And what role have I played in this? Because so many individuals, and I say this also from my own experience when I first started this journey many years ago. It was, prior to even starting this journey, to be honest, whenever I went through something difficult, it was they did this to me. But that they did this to me was constantly leaving me in more pain, more suffering, and stuck in that mode that I was the victim, but I never was the victim. So with this whole embracing the spiritual journey, for me, it's not always, it's always love and light. Because you've got to remember the light is always there. The love is always there. That light is going to shine so bright on wounds that are needing healing. And now that's where people can call it the shadow, the darkness. If you avoid that, that means you're not embracing your spiritual self. We are whole beings. And as whole beings, there's light and dark to us. Just like during the day we have sunlight, the nighttime we have the moon.
Yeah.
But in that, in the night sky, when it's dark, you've got the bright moon shining. Mother Moon is shining that light on that darkness.
I
So
love it.
that light is within all of us. And through healing, it's through that journey of darkness where you actually connect with that inner light of yours. So embracing spirituality to me is very much about already knowing that we are whole beings. Nothing is broken. We don't need fixing.
Yeah.
But what we do need to do is we need to unravel. We need to peel back the layers to come back home to who we truly are. And that means flowing with the ebbs and flow of life. That's what embracing spirituality is. So you may feel helpless, but never feel hopeless.
That's a great way of putting it. And it's interesting you call it coming home, because that's exactly 100%. It's like when we're born as a baby, we cry, we get attention. We're being present. We don't have all this programming of, this is what society expects, or religion, or
Mm.
just being present. We're truly just, and, I really feel like we're trying to get to that point where we're just being present. We're loving the moment. We're just truly embracing it. And, just if we can become excited, and I know, and I get it, just if you're going through a lot, and I know all of us have been going through a lot this year, and it's just when we talk about having embracing the journey and getting excited, people probably think we're crazy, right? But it is when you become inquisitive, and when you realize that for whatever reason your soul chose this path, and if you focus on the things that are working rather than the things that are not, then that's what expands. What you focus on expands. And it's interesting you bring up darkness, right? Because as you say, there's no light without dark. I mean, it's like yin and yang of the world, right? So, you know, you can't, if you have darkness within you, you have to embrace it. You can't pick the parts. It's like you can't have two kids and just love one of them, right? You have to love all
Yeah,
of you, right? So,
exactly.
and embracing that darkness in you is part of your journey. It's like you can't you can't fully complete this journey unless you understand that darkness, unless you embrace that darkness. And that does require work. And I love the night. I love the
Mm.
night. Even when the moon's not shining, there's something beautiful about um the energy at night. It's just so much calmer than during the day for whatever reason. That's just how I feel. And it doesn't mean I love the darkness in me, but at the same time, actually I do love the darkness in me. I
It's
don't mean I
holding that
want,
darkness with
yeah,
love. That's what it
100%.
is.
Yeah, and it's not, I mean, I'll always say, and it always comes through the Akashic message, that no matter what the question, no matter what's going on, the answer is always love.
Mm.
And look, I get it. It's not always that easy, right? But maybe it is. Maybe we complicate life by doing and looking for complex answers to a question, which is okay. No matter what's going on, the answer is always love, and loving yourself, and really kind of doing the self-care, doing the journaling, doing the meditation, doing the whatever, walking, physical activity you want to do, and spending time with you and getting used to you is such an important part of why we're here.
Yeah. And there's so many who fear solitude.
Yeah.
They fear time for themselves. That's why they keep so busy all the time.
Yeah.
But the busyness then keeps them disconnected.
Yeah.
And then they're functioning every day from a place of just having to do things
Yeah.
rather than embracing the journey of anything they're doing, whatever role they're playing in their life. It becomes this like, it becomes like that hamster on a hamster wheel, right? Without being focused, without being present, without feeling into that moment of what they're doing, that it becomes just like, oh, this is just another tick box activity. I'm waking up, I've got to do this, get it done, off I go. But
Yeah.
in that moment, you're losing the essence of who you get to be. You're losing the essence of receiving what you're meant to be receiving.
Very powerfully said. And maybe that's a great question for our listeners. How do you feel about being on your own?
Yeah.
How do you
And what's
feel
the
about
fears that
spending
come up?
time?
What
Yeah,
are
and
the
it's just
fears that
that
come up?
because the thing is that if you're uncomfortable spending time on your own, then why would other people want to spend time with you? And that's the, that. And I did a whole episode on the difference between being alone and feeling lonely, right? You could be surrounded by people and still
Mm,
feel lonely, right? And it's that, but it's like getting used to spending time with you, having fun with you. And we've all been through so much recently. So it's like we've been through a rebirth. So we've got to spend time getting to know this new version of ourselves. What does him or her like to do? So great question to ask is how do you feel about spending time on yourself? And if you are really busy all the time, then I kind of challenge you and ask the question, well, is that because there's something happening inside you that you're running away from?
mm,
And if you've got a busy life with kids and all that, I get it, right? But maybe you can just find 10 minutes a day for you.
yeah.
And I always recommend 10 minutes of silence, right? That's one of the three things I always recommend. And you've got to build a muscle. You can't sit there 10 minutes silence and all of a sudden say, well, I can't sit there. I can't be in silence because my mind's too busy. But if you do it for a while, if you do it for 21 days consistently, eventually you'll switch from your head will calm down so you can listen to your heart and soul. Me,
Mm,
when I switch from I think to I feel and truly start to feel what's happening inside, that's when things start to shift.
yes. It's the consistency, it's the perseverance. And when you first start out, your mind it'll be crazy.
Yeah,
But just accepting, okay, yeah, that's what's going on. Take the pressure off.
yeah,
Like you mentioned earlier, I think as humans, we always overcomplicate.
we
And
do.
one of the, one of the very beautiful messages that I'd heard from one of the swamis as well, and they're like, simple life, higher thinking. And this is what it's about. When we connect to the essence of our being, keep things simple.
Yeah,
You know, don't overcomplicate your day-to-day life. Yes, we have lots of different roles that we have to fulfill, some duties to do, but where can we simplify things? You
yeah.
know, and if we start simplifying just from, let's take an example of meditation, because I think that's going to be quite relatable to so many individuals. And I share this also from a personal experience because I used to be the one who never could sit still. I used to do about 10 things in one time, and everyone's like, how do you do it? And I used to wear that with like it was like a
Badge
badge
of
of
honor.
honor,
Yeah.
And I used to stay there. I was like, see how much I can get done. But I started to notice when I started to become very, very irritable, frustrated, angry, and everybody else was the issue apart from me, of course.
Of course.
Of course. I wanted my kids to be calmer, but here the mother's completely neurotic. I wanted my home to feel peaceful, but yet I was walking around like a whirlwind and a tornado in the house. And when people used to say to me, please go and do some meditation, I actually wanted to go and punch them in the face. That's who I was.
Yeah,
Because at that time, I did not know myself. All
yeah,
I used to know was, can't do it, can't do that, got too many things to do. It's not about time, it's about priority.
yeah,
And it's about managing your energy because time is energy as well.
yeah.
So what happened was simplifying life. I actually stopped watching a lot of Indian series in the evening, which gave me my 2 hours back. So where I said I didn't have time, I swapped where I was talking about not having time for me. Instead of watching 2 hours of them just screaming and shouting at each other and having families watching them breaking up and consuming that before going to bed. I shifted to, I'm just going to sit there for 2 minutes by myself. Started a very simple 2 minutes. When I first started, I was itchy, I was edgy, I wanted to move around. I just allowed everything to be as it was. I just accepted that that's how it was at that time. But what I committed to was the daily practice of it. 2 minutes is simple, and then you build yourself up. So for whoever is, feeling that they can't, and I started chanting, because what happened was chanting gave me a focus. So
Yeah.
when the mind has been so busy, instead of focusing on the 100 things that are flying around through the mind, like as if you're driving up the motorway in a complete different direction and there's traffic coming, towards you, I was like, okay, I'm going to focus on the chant. That chant gave me a focus to dilute all the other noise around me. It allowed me to then drop into the body.
Nice.
So that's what I mean about keep things simple. Don't overcomplicate. When people are like, and I found that when first people said, "Oh, go onto YouTube, go onto Insight Time, or go onto," there's lots of that complicated things even more for me. For somebody who's just starting the journey.
Yeah. It's
And then what happens? You go into procrastination, so you don't do it anyway.
yeah. Thing is, if your life is busy, then it is really important to realize that everything you're exhaling is a result of something internal. So your calmness does start with breathing, just starts being present. And even if it is only 2 minutes a day, whether it's chanting, whether it's just breathing, but it is making you a priority.
Yeah.
This hero complex, and you kind of touched on it, where we want to be there for everybody else. We want to do that. We want to it's when we do that, what we're doing is we're looking for love from outside ourselves. We're looking for that recognition of, oh my God, you're always there for me. Oh, thank you. Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you. You do so much. But ultimately, that gets tiring
It's
because,
exhausting and it's
yeah,
not sustainable.
well, you start to resent it because you're there for everybody else, but you're not there for you.
Mhm.
And eventually, there's something inside you which starts to get irritated and you don't even realize why you're doing it. And the things that you used to love doing, look, it's great to be there for other people, right? It's great to go out your way, but always check in with your intention. What's your intention? If your intention is, oh my God, to get all the, thank you, you're so amazing, and all that sort of stuff, then maybe your intention's wrong because, everything you need inside yourself, so that includes the love. So the recognition you're really looking for is the recognition of self. But we spend so long looking for, you know, love. Maybe you're looking for a partner or whatever. It's like, oh my God, somebody's going to complete me. No, you're complete already in this moment. You are perfect in this moment, and there's no right or wrong. And yeah, if you're right, if you could just, spend 2 minutes, 5 minutes on you, on meeting the universe halfway, and just being present, it's
Mm.
so powerful because the universe really does want to help us, right? And if we're busy and we have, then everybody can find 2 minutes, right? Everybody can find 5 minutes, whether it's in the morning, whether it's at night, and just,
Lunch breaks, wherever.
yeah, whatever,
Five
right?
minutes.
Five,
5 minutes.
find
Just
five
allocate
minutes.
that 5 minutes for you.
And what you'll find is it grows. All
Yes.
of a sudden, it's addictive, and you'll find, because your busyness is also how you respond to things.
Mm,
And, I mean, I always talk about practicing the pause. And, when we're so busy, we react. Our human nature is to react. If we're attacked, we attack back or we retreat.
mm,
But when you practice the pause and you breathe and you can respond. And response is different to reacting. Response, you can respond with love. You can respond with compassion, and you respond from the heart.
mm.
So, such a powerful message. Be kind to yourself. Take time for you. Because when you put you at the center of your world, your light becomes so much brighter. And actually, ironically, you can help so many more people. It's kind of weird, right?
Yeah, because the way you show up is from a place of wholeness and fullness.
Yeah.
So your intention becomes pure from your heart of why you want to serve somebody else. You're not then, like you said, you're not coming from a place of, if I serve them, I'll get their validation. I'll be at the forefront of their mind, which means that, can you see all the narratives that start then
Yeah.
creating? Whereas if we're feeling already like, actually, do you know what? I have so much love for myself. I see myself Because if I see myself, others will see me. And I
100%.
don't have to force that.
Yeah.
And
So
when I want to go and serve, my service comes from pure intention. My service comes from the heart of, because of where I am, I know I can guide others. And that doesn't mean I'm going out there trying to fix everybody, because that's not what my role is. What I'm doing is activating their own inner healer in themselves.
so
So
powerful.
when I'm holding that space, yes, I'm a mentor, a teacher, a guide. Like we said, we can have so many titles attached, but in reality, what we're doing is through our own personal journeys and experiences, we know what's worked, what's not worked. And ultimately, we're guiding and empowering others to connect back with that light that's within them, the inner power and strength that's within them, where they've just given it away.
Yeah. So powerful. And the way you talk about guiding is so powerful too, because we can't force people down a path. Who are we
Right.
to force anybody, right? We're learning and growing ourselves, right? But it's that it's just knowing that you're on this path. And the other question I'd love to ask our listeners is, how much are you adapting who you are to be around others? Because
Mm,
that's always the other clue is on this spiritual journey is how we do one thing is how we do everything.
oh gosh,
Becoming
yeah.
authentic is so powerful. It's that. But if you're molding yourself so that somebody else loves you, then who do they really love?
Mm,
And it's just like, so if you can ask yourself that question, it's because, and then think about the roles that you play. And, even think about the role of a parent. Are you parenting the same way as you were brought up? Or are you parenting the opposite?
mm,
Because that starts to give you a clue as to how you're playing the roles. Because sometimes we play program roles, right? You know, the it's like the way that we work with others. Is that the do we do certain things because that's what our parents did, or are we being authentic? This journey of kind of this spiritual journey, I love it because you start to become that inquisitive. You start to ask, okay, hold on, what role am I playing? Oh, that's interesting because you can judge yourself in this spiritual journey. The first stage for me is always awareness. So when you start asking these questions about the roles, you become aware, and then all of a sudden you start to think, hold on a second, I wish I knew this 10 years ago, or then you start to judge yourself. And no, it's always awareness and accept who you are. And then from accepting, you start to love yourself, right?
100%.
I can go off and talk about this for hours,
I
right? So, just
I feel the same. I feel the
yeah,
same. Because it is such a, I feel it's a very powerful tool. Our spiritual journey is such a powerful tool for us to embrace in this timeline that we've chosen. We have chosen, our souls have chosen to be here on Earth. And when I remember when I was told, actually, did you know Earth is the hardest planet that you could have chosen? I was like, wow,
100%.
great.
Mm,
We've chosen it. Um, and we are not, we are not separate. And that's another very, very key thing I'd love for the listeners to also start embracing. Like, we are one with all.
100%.
There is no separate. Our soul is within ourself. Our body is our vehicle. The body is our vehicle. So, from a physical point of view, how are you looking after your vessel? What are you feeding it? How are you nourishing it? From a emotional point of view, what's going on there? How are you feeding your thoughts?
Yeah.
Or what are you consuming from external sources, your own mind chatter? Like they always say, isn't it, that the mind can be the best friend, but it can be the worst enemy as well.
Yeah. It's your ego, right? But
It's
again,
it's that false ego that comes through.
yeah, but ego gets a bad rap. Ego's not a bad thing. Your ego is just trying to protect you.
Yeah.
Doesn't want you to change, but actually is
Keeping you
talking to you.
comfortable.
Yeah. But why? We're not meant to be comfortable.
Here's How You Gonna Act Like That by Tyrese on Apple Music.
Wow. There you go. Siri's decided to get involved in the conversation. Don't you
Yeah.
love that? It's on
But
Do Not Disturb, but there you go. So,
I
and it's the song that he came up with. How are you going to act like that? There you go.
there you go.
You can't even plan this stuff, but
You can't make things up.
yeah,
And again, just going touching back on that topic of the ego, I always say, I mean, it's something I share with everyone, clients in my circles. I said, what, when the ego's name that ego,
yeah,
because that ego has
fun
kept you
name.
safe for
Yeah,
such a long time. And you can turn around and say to that ego, you know what, thank you so much for showing up.
yeah,
Thank you that you've served me for all this time, but now I choose to do things differently because I know it's safe for me to do
yeah,
things differently. And like when I bring in the Vedic scriptures and we're talking about the Gita, for example, it talks so much about the false ego, and that's what we're here to do. We're here to actually release the false ego,
yeah.
the false ego that keeps you stuck in these loops and patterns of suffering and pain.
Love it. I mean, for
And
me,
that,
yeah, ego stands for Earth Guide only.
yeah.
It's when you're on the spiritual journey, it becomes more about the soul, and naming your ego is again so powerful. And it's interesting. We talk about um, releasing the programming. I'm sure for a lot of listeners, we spent a lot of time trying to fit in.
Mm,
And interesting when you talk about oneness, right? It's really interesting how actually for many of us, we're not meant to belong, right? We're not meant to be part of something because we're a unique journey. But it's an interesting paradox when you think about we are a soul having a unique human experience, but at the same time we are all one.
yeah. We're one with nature.
Yeah, we
We're
one. I
one with
mean,
the
we
cosmos. We're
vibrate.
one with everything,
Yeah, it's
We're made
really
up of all
yeah,
the elements. Look at the elements around us, and we have those elements within us.
100%. It's so beautiful when you start opening yourself up to a different way of just realizing that everything is we're all part of something. We're all part of the oneness of you've got to accept your individuality. You've got to accept that, you know, like I said, sometimes we're trying to belong. We're trying to find people that truly understand what we're going through and, can 100% relate to us. But you're unique. No one's had the same experiences as you. So, and maybe
And
you're not
that's where the
meant to belong.
authenticity comes in, because
Yeah,
when you know yourself
100%.
and you know your path because it's been guided for you, you're connected to the higher sources.
100%.
You can show up as you being you without what other people have to say.
Yeah. And 100%. And the thing is, maybe you're not meant to belong because you're here to do something different that's never been done before.
I still go through those moments where I question, I'm like, do I really belong here? Like I feel
Yeah.
as I'm
I can
actually,
relate.
yeah, as I'm going through this journey, and where I'm at the moment with the spiritual expansion is happening so fast that the physical body is like taking a while to catch up.
Yeah. It's always the
And
physical body that's last, right?
yeah, and then I'm like, oh my God. And then I'm like, oh, where am I meant to belong? But then I'm like, do you know what? It's okay. It's okay. Like there is no, I shouldn't be thinking that. It's like, okay, that's what's coming up right now because I'm on this path of expansion. Everything's going to come into place. We have to trust divine timing as well, which is what we were speaking about.
Yeah, it's true. Maybe we should put on a t-shirt, it's okay.
Yeah.
Because it really is. And it's that, just knowing that. But the other thing you actually think about is the physical body gives us such a clue.
Oh yeah.
It just gives us such a clue as to what's happening. And it's like we discard it, but as you said, it's the vessel for our soul, right? So, but I'd love for you to talk about what are your clients experiencing? So, what are you seeing in the world in terms of people going through their spiritual journey, and any kind of insights you can share from what you've seen recently?
That's very interesting. Thank you. One of the biggest things we've been working on is the fears of judgment, the fears of abandonment, rejection. And what we've been working on has been very interesting because I always share that we're we're multidimensional beings. Our healing has to be multidimensional. You know, they'll be like, but we've done so much of this cord cutting, but we're still having issues with these certain situations and individuals. And I'm like, so I'm guiding them through the fact that it goes beyond just writing a letter to say, I cut all cords with you. Have you first learned what lessons you're to learn from those situations?
The
Because
soul
if you
contract.
haven't,
Mm,
so we've been taking them through those journeys. And then we've been releasing them on a level where it's released on all timelines, not just this timeline, you
yeah.
know, looking at past, all of that, but also ancestral and generational. Um, the unhealed traumas of shame and guilt based on what they've experienced, whether it's abuse, whether it's what they've witnessed. A lot of clients and individuals, when they've gone through such trauma, they become disassociated from their bodies. So it's about bringing them and teaching them that it's safe for them to be in their bodies and connecting them back with their bodies as well. You know, over the last couple of weeks, the theme has literally been acceptance of and prioritizing self. Service to self, what does that look like? Why does issues around guilt come up? Why does issues around being a burden comes up? And again, there's been strong links with intergenerational and ancestral, where women was seen and portrayed in such a way that, you know, at that point, self-care was selfish. I mean, we always hear this term, isn't it? But to embody that is a very different story.
Yeah.
Saying is one thing, but to actually embody and practice that. I just had a client who sent me a picture. She goes, I've literally taken myself out and I'm having a coffee by myself. And that's the first time she's done that in over 15 years.
And that's so powerful. Just those little times, those little things for you.
But
You're,
that's, so and a lot of people take that for granted.
yeah.
But the fact that actually, do you know what, there was so many, we had to go deep. And this is the beauty of this level of work that we do and guide others into doing, is when we guide them to the root cause of where all this stuff started from, and to actually show them where they played a role, where their contracts were with certain situations, they can see. And as we've then released it, they have just felt physically, they've felt this whole load lift out of their body.
Wow. It's really interesting when you talk about cutting cords. It's like, again, people just want to be fixed. But again, for our listeners, if there are people in your life, they're there for a reason. They're there to teach you something, expand you. And you can cut cords, but if you have a soul contract with somebody that's here to teach you something, you have to learn before you can cut cords. And, it's like even repeat programs. I don't really believe in repeat programs. What I believe is that you're experiencing the same thing, but at a deeper level of healing.
Yes, it's a different layer.
Yeah, it's
Just
just
like
a
the
different.
onion, right? The onion
Yeah,
has the skin and layers, and it's what's coming up at a deeper, because what you were not, you will only receive what you're ready to receive.
100%. And that's the thing. It's just healing. It's like being the student, getting excited by being on a roller coaster. Look, I get it, right? There's times that I question, why did I pick this path? And, of course there is, right? But realizing that the people in your life are there to expand you. But as you said, self-care has to begin with self. You can be there for everybody else and, be the hero. But if you're not there for yourself, then what example are you setting for others? What example are you setting for yourself? And, taking time out to go for a coffee and just spending 10 minutes on your own.
It's boundaries.
Yeah, but for so many people, that may be difficult. But how powerful does that feel? Taking 10 minutes out of your day for you.
And that's without feeling guilt. Because a
100%.
lot of people will do it and they still feel guilty. But for this individual, I mean, I'm so proud of them because, I know what it's taken. the courage it's taken, the vulnerability it's taken them.
Because that's the other thing is when you start on this journey, the people around you are not used to it.
No.
So maybe you will get a reaction, but that's not on you.
No.
People will say things like, you've changed. Yes, you have changed. Of course, change is the only
As
constant.
humans, we are here to constantly evolve.
100%.
A lot of the times people feel stuck and stagnant because they've stopped growing.
Yeah. Or they've stopped healing or looking inside of themselves for the answers. And it's that. And honestly, you can give, 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 give. But if you do that, eventually your cup becomes empty.
Mm.
And you start to resent. And that's when you become ill. And that's when become. So if you get one message from this podcast, do something for you today. Pick
Yeah.
one thing you don't normally do, and do it for you and enjoy it. Be present in the moment. Don't feel guilty about it. You're a child of God. Enjoy being here. Enjoy, not to trigger anyone. You could be child of source, whatever. You are magic. Whatever words you want to use, but you deserve to put you first.
Yes.
Put yourself at the center and do one thing. So, Chintal, let me ask you, what's the one thing you're going to do for you today?
I've already booked my time out in my calendar for myself, just for me to, I'll be sitting with a beautiful cacao that I'm going to make for myself, and that's going to be my solitude time to integrate also, because I've just come off a very deep spiritual retreat. So for me, that's my time for integration, my time for being, and just honoring myself and my own journey.
I love it. I love it.
That's what I'm going to be doing.
So tell me how, if any of our listeners wanted to work with you, what would that look like? What sort of services do you offer?
So the way I work, I offer one-to-one sessions, and the one-to-one containers very much look like where we are going through exploring root causes of what's coming up for you. So because I work very intuitively, psychically as well, so it's kind of channeled guidance to where they're feeling the blocks at this stage that's stopping them from progressing forward or receiving an abundance in their life. And we'll talk about abundance. It can be so many different ways, that we can look at it. But we go through identifying, then getting to the root cause of it. It also looks like actually clearing, on a very deeper level, clearing cords, clearing auric fields, chakra alignment, psychic attacks, clearing all those kind of entity removals. That's all the kind of work it looks like that we do. And these sessions are very much client led. I'm not somebody who puts anybody in a box. I'm a unique being. I don't like being put in a box. So these sessions are very much structured with what's coming up. So I work very much like what's coming up, what layer's coming up right now. Let's work on that, because that's the layer that's going to help you to get to the next level of where you need to go to. So I do offer like a one-off session just for people who want to experience what it feels like to work with me. Ideally, I'm very much like it's a journey. So minimum, I do ask for people to commit to a 3-month journey with me. So that's the one-to-one side. I do, in terms of in-person, I do group healing circles. So I run them in Hillingdon once a month on a Friday. That's for women only. But I do also offer mixed, which is men and women, like cacao healing ceremonies as well. So this is where you come together in a safe space. There's no judgment. And you're coming to receive, and you're coming to allow yourself to just be. You can share your experiences if you like, but you don't have to. But coming together in a space where there's other women, where you're healing together and rising together is so, so powerful and potent, which is what women used to do over 5,000 years ago.
Nice.
And
So
being in
great
that
to
space
see.
is a big thing. Yeah.
So I include everything in the show notes, the links to Chintal, etc. And Hillingdon's in the UK. So if you happen to be in the Greater London area, then and women only. I'm not sure what that's about, but anyway, I have seen
It's the
actually.
sacred feminine. It's
I'm
for the
just,
sacred feminine. Yeah.
I'm just joking, but But yeah, I've seen it I've seen some of the posts about it online. So yeah, it's something I would highly recommend if you can. Do you offer an online version too, or is it just you have to only physical?
So those at the moment are physical, but I am starting to put together a few online options as well, because I do have wider reach of clients that I'd like to kind of bring online as well. So that was something that I am in the process. And yeah, so that will all be up on the website once it's ready to go.
Nice. So I will include Chintal's details in all the show notes. So again, Chintal, to put you on the spot a little bit, one, as we close out this episode, any final advice you have for people going through their spiritual journey? And I would love a couple of journal prompts. I always like to include a couple of journal prompts to really, it's nice when you kind of listen to a podcast, but you actually take some action.
Yeah.
So
So one piece of advice I would definitely give is when you're on this journey, it can feel lonely at times. You can feel a bit like, what am I meant to do? What am I meant to follow? Um, and you can start by, if you're starting the journey and you want to start by yourself, I would always start with reading a couple of books that will help you on that self-help journey. But eventually you do get to a stage where you're like, you do need to work with somebody else to guide you. So my piece of advice would be start with some journaling. I think inner reflection questions are always a good place to start. Um, so based on this episode that we've just conducted, I would really ask yourself, what does spirituality mean to you? Because that is something that's going to differ to every different individual. So what does spirituality mean for you personally? Um, and if you're going through a situation currently where you're feeling a bit stuck, or you're feeling a bit like, oh, I don't know what's going on, ask yourself, where do you feel stuck? And when you're asking yourself that question, just close your eyes and feel into your body. Where in your body do you feel that as well? Because it's so easy to be in the mind, and then the mind starts creating narratives. But drop into the body, and just, even if you place your hand on your heart, just to remind yourself that this is you connecting with your body, just checking in with your physical self. Where is it that you're feeling this? The feeling of stuck, or where the feeling of uneasiness is. And this, just breathe into that area. And what feels and what's coming up for you as you do that as well.
nice, beautiful. And then journal about it.
And journal about it.
Yeah, it's a great way of just processing what you're going through. So powerful, powerful stuff. Yeah, and if anything I've said resonates, reach out. You can book a free discovery call. I'll take you through the mentorship that I offer. That really is about releasing the programming and becoming truly authentic. Maybe you want to get an Akashic reading, which goes deep on what your soul's going through, what gives you insights into your soul's journey. There's no quick fix, but it gives you insights into maybe some past life stuff that you're holding on to. I connect you with your guides. It really gives you insight onto your journey. So if any of that resonates, please do reach out. And please do rate and review this podcast. It really does help. It gets to more people. I feel very, very blessed with this podcast and the people it gets to. So if what we said, if this episode resonates, please do like, review, comment, reach out to me if you have any feedback, if there's any topic you'd like me to cover in the future. And yeah, as we close out, I'm sending everyone so much love and light. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. And I'm going to hand over to Chintal to close us out. Over to you.
Thank you so much. I have thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope all of the listeners on the podcast have enjoyed this episode. And like you've said, Nimesh, just it'll be nice to get some reviews. And if there's any questions, please do reach out to us. Thank you so much. And all I can say is I'm just sending you abundance and abundance of blessings, gratitude, and healing your way for your highest. And if you'd like to connect with me, I tend to be a lot more on Instagram. Do connect with me on Instagram. Just drop into the DMs. And equally, if you want to know more about, how I could serve or support you, then we can just connect and we can have a chat. There's a no obligation call as well we can have. So yes, have a beautiful, beautiful journey is what I can say. Because if you start looking at it, that this is a journey rather than a punishment,
Hmm.
it will all unfold. And a message I channeled through that I received earlier this week for the collective is, petal by petal, just allow the mysteries of life to unfold. And yeah, just sit with that and give yourself permission to go on that journey.
Wow. Thank you. I always knew you'd be on this podcast at some point. So Chintal, thank you for being a guest. I'm sure you'll be back soon. And yeah, thank you for sharing your wisdom. I will include your Instagram details in the show notes, so please do reach out to her. Sending you and everybody so much love and light, and I'll be back very, very soon. Bye for
Thank
now.